Hey guys, this is P Communications. Welcome to my review of Hudson Hawk. Catch the excitement, catch the action, catch the hawk, which is like the original tagline, but they ended up changing it because there wasn't a lot of action. So they said, catch the excitement, catch the laughter, catch the hawk when it came out on home video. Anyway, Hudson Hawk's a film I've always had a soft spot for. I don't hate the movie at all. I remember watching it on TV with my dad when it aired on cable TV and had fun with it. I remember like when I was a kid, like I never would actually catch the entire movie. I would catch like the last half of it, or I'd catch the middle portion. So it wasn't until recently, actually, I've seen it all the way through before this most recent time I watched it. But it was like a couple years ago, pretty much, when I first saw the whole thing. And let's just say, honestly, my memories of it would have been a little bit more, I would have liked it a lot more if I just had remembered just the little bits and pieces of it that I saw. Like the stuff where Tommy, Five Tone, or Hudson Hawk are singing side by side, shooting bombs. And also the whole heist scene in the beginning where they're singing Swinging on a Star. You could be better off than you are. You could be swinging on a star. So that's the stuff I really enjoy. I could see why people enjoy that. But Hudson Hawk's kind of a tough film for me to kind of review because I don't really hate the movie, but there are some things about it I don't like. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't say that I love this movie. I would say there's a lot of Bruce Willis films that I like a lot more than Hudson Hawk. In the same year, Last Boy Scout came out, and I would say The Last Boy Scout was a better film than Hudson Hawk, at least for me. I would say I thought it was funnier. I thought it had better jokes. I thought it was definitely had better action scenes. I thought Hudson Hawk could use a little bit more action. I understand that's not what the point is. It's more of a adventure comedy, but it's a Bruce Willis movie, and you know, people were expecting a little bit more action, especially after this is his follow-up to Die Hard 2, Die Harder. So people were expecting a little bit more than just him doing a bunch of shtick, trying to make you laugh and shooting bombs and singing songs, and stealing things. You know, people expected a little bit more than that, and I don't blame them for that. But I don't think the movie's nearly as bad as critics made it out to be back when it came out. They slaughtered this movie. They absolutely destroyed the film. And even Bruce Willis himself, in an interview on this DVD, he said, you know, people are just waiting. You know, the critics are just waiting for the time they could tear me down after Die Hard, and now they got it, and they just couldn't help themselves. And then I like Bruce Willis's attitude about the people, you know, the critics, and the whole way it was a box office flop. It didn't do very well, and critics, you know, destroyed it. And a good friend of his, Robert Kraft, who wrote the story and also wrote some of the soundtrack, and who was also Robert Kraft, who was a friend of his from his days as a bartender in South Jersey, and I believe they also lived together in an apartment complex. And one time, Robert Kraft was working on a song, and it turned into Hudson Hawk. Hudson Hawk started out as a song, and Bruce Willis, while he was hanging out with his best friend Robert Kraft, he was saying at the time it was wishful thinking, but it actually ended up happening. Where he said, you know, someday I'm gonna make a movie. Someday I'm gonna make a movie about Hudson Hawk. You know, I'm gonna be in it, and and of course. Of course, Robert Kraft is like, sure, Bruce, sure, you're going to make a movie. And, of course, soon afterwards, after he made that decision, the acting world actually came calling to Bruce, and he got the role of Moonlighting, and then Die Hard, and the rest is history. And then 1990, TriStar Pictures gave Bruce Willis a first look deal, and he decided he wanted to do Hudson Hawk. And so it started out as a song that he and his friend wrote when he was working as a bartender. So it's kind of an interesting sort of a backstory about the film, which you wouldn't find on the trivia section on IMDb, because the trivia section is very, very small. considering a film of this caliber, which is considered one of the most notorious box office flops in the 1990s. It's right up there with Last Action Hero in terms of, movie mistakes and so forth. A lot of people had feelings about it, when it came out. But Hudson Hawk, though, so it started out as a song, and Robert Kraft's actually, his original version of the song, Hudson Hawk, the Hudson Hawk song, actually was performed by Dr. John for the soundtrack. So that's really interesting, kind of like, got a famous blues singer perform the, song that you and your friend just put together on your free time when you're, friends, hanging out in your apartment in South Jersey. None of them ever thought that this would ever become a movie, and eventually it did. But going back to Bruce Willis's reaction to the lack of praise and all the criticism that he got for Hudson Hawk, fuck him. And I like that attitude. Fuck it. His attitude, Robert Kraft was devastated, but Bruce Willis is like, fuck it. If they didn't get it, they didn't want to laugh, they don't want to take a joke, then, fuck it. And that's fine. Hey, I applaud Bruce for that. At the end of the day, I did laugh quite a bit in this movie, but there are some jokes that just don't work at all for me because it's not my type of humor. I think this is a movie will be hilarious for a lot of people, but a lot of people won't find it funny because they're not a fan of this type of humor. Not everybody is a fan of this slapstick Three Stooges type of humor that's present in Hudson Hawk. And there are some moments that I like, others that I really honestly don't care for. Especially the moments where Andie McDowell is acting like a dolphin, I didn't find funny at all, and I never did. I just found it incredibly annoying and just weird and stupid. It was like, oh, Bobo, Bobo, Bobo the dolphin. The dolphins are here. I don't... I don't even like Woody Woodpecker, okay? So that just brings back annoying memories of Woody Woodpecker and his wanted to beat the shit out of that woodpecker. Give it the stone cold stunner. Anyway, yeah, Andie McDowell, I even thought her whole performance was, I understand it's for laughs, but Bruce Willis's comedic timing and Aiello's comedic timing seemed actually really good. They actually had great chemistry together. They were kind of like Laurel and Hardy. They were like really good together. Andie McDowell, though, her chemistry with Bruce I thought was non-existent most of the time. And also I felt that her performance was just, it wasn't funny and it was just really bad. Like, I understand was probably asking her, the director, Michael Lehmann was probably asking her to be over the top, but I just thought it was really a shitty performance by Andie McDowell. That's just my personal opinion. And what's funny is this is the same guy who directed Heathers. So the same guy who directed Heathers, which is a really subversive, really underrated, great black comedy in 1989, was his directorial debut. And then he did that in the same year he did Hudson Hawk. He did that weird movie, Meet the Applegates, which is like about Ed Begley Jr. and he's like a bug. And so, so then he did Hudson Hawk, and then kind of his career kind of went on a downturn, and the next film he got was Airheads in 1994, Brendan Fraser, which I gotta be honest, I enjoy that alright too. But anyway, Hudson Hawk, yeah, directed by Michael Lehmann, and it was released in 1991. It's produced by Joel Silver. It also has a screenplay by Stephen E. D'Souza. So, once again, Stephen E. D'Souza, with these sort of meta-action movies. Daniel Waters also worked on the screenplay, based on a story by Bruce Willis and Robert Kraft. Stars Bruce Willis as Hudson Hawk, the world's greatest cat burglar. Dan Aiello as Tommy Fivetone, his best friend, and co-worker, sort of co-worker in crime. And there's actually a deleted scene which I wish they kept back in, because it explains why his name is Tommy Fivetone, and then it also explains the sort of fun scene where Tommy punches James Coburn, he punches Richard E. Grant 5 times in the face. And when he's in that limo, when it's about to go off a cliff near the end of the movie. You find out that Danny Aiello's character in a deleted scene on this DVD. That Aiello's character, Tommy Five Tone, is named Tommy Five Tone because of a story where he beat the shit out of this one guy at a bar, and he punched him 5 times, and each time there's a different tone that came out of the guy's, came out of the guy's mouth. So it was like he punches him once, like it's like and then oh. So I thought that was pretty funny. And that was cut out, though, for some reason, for time. There were a bunch of other deleted scenes that were, like, really, I'm glad. Like, Hudson Hawk had a pet monkey that was, like, Little Hawk or something, and he got murdered by the Barrio Brothers. A pet monkey. Like, complete with a fedora and everything. What the hell? Anyway, so, yeah, the movies that I would probably, I'd quote Ford Fairlane and Hudson Hawk. I'd be like, I'd say, I talked to Hudson Hawk, I'd be like, kooky! Because it really is a kooky movie. I'd probably say I like Ford Fairlane more than Hudson Hawk. I find it a lot more funny, I find it funnier, personally, and has a little bit of a faster pace. Hudson Hawk, though, has its strong points. It's not a complete waste. It's not one of the worst films I've ever seen. But it's not one of the greatest either, and I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite Bruce Willis movies. But I'd say I like it more than some like Striking Distance. But it's nowhere near as good as like The Fifth Element, or Die Hard, or Die Hard 2, or Die Hard with a Vengeance. I'd probably say I like it more than Good Day to Die Hard. I'll give it that. But anyway, Hudson Hawk, rest of the cast, you got Andie McDowell as this nun / Vatican secret agent. Anna Baraghi, I don't know how to fucking pronounce her name. I don't know how to pronounce Italian. But, excuse me, where that came from. But anyway, she was actually a replacement. What's interesting about her is that Isabel Rossellini was originally cast as Anna Baraghi. But when the movie was delayed because of scheduling issues, the part was recast with Mariska Dempters. However, due to back problems, she had to leave after a few days of shooting and was finally replaced by Andie McDowell. So Andie McDowell was not even the first choice for the film. I can see why. She's supposed to be Italian, but I don't really buy it, and I don't know. I just thought she didn't do it for me. That's just me personally. I understand people really like her performance, to each their own. I'm not a big fan of it, but I'll just leave it at that. James Coburn has a brief role as, he plays one of the bad guys, George Kaplan, and I pretty much he just reminded me of Lloyd Bridges from Hot Shots. I thought Lloyd Bridges was funnier. Sandra Bernhard, obnoxious, annoying. I hate the Mayflowers. See, that's the big problem with this movie, is I love the scenes with Bruce Willis and Aiello. They have excellent chemistry. They're a lot of fun to watch. When they're singing, Swinging on a Star while trying to steal a horse. And then you also have, the scene at the end where they're singing side by side, shooting bombs. Side by side. That's a lot of fun, and it's unique because how often does that happen in an action sort of adventure movie where they're singing songs, just doing a duet and blowing things up? It was actually a lot of fun, and they have great chemistry. They're fun to watch. They're, like I said, they're like Laurel and Hardy of the 90s, but everyone else, the rest of the cast, I could care less about. That's the problem. I don't care about Andie McDowell and the relationship or the love interest between her and Bruce Willis, which in my opinion slows down the film's pacing, because it's pretty fast and furious, and then Bruce Willis gets to Rome, and then it really starts to slow down for me. And, because you had like the whole heist scene in the beginning, then you had the ambulance sequence, and now he's in Rome, and I'm wondering where the hell is Tommy? And then Tommy shows up later, like in the film, and after Bruce steals the Codex, and then there's in this crap with the Vatican, secret agents, and Andie McDowell, and the scary German guy. Yeah, the same guy actor who played the scary German guy, Leonard Camino, plays the cardinal in this of the Vatican, and so basically I wanted more of Hudson Hawk with Tommy. They were a great duo. They're a great couple. They're great together. Not couple, but I mean they're great together, and they're a lot of fun to watch. That's the reason why I find Hudson Hawk to be entertaining, is because of Aiello and Bruce Willis. And when Aiello disappeared for a little bit of the film, I lost interest. And then when he came back, then I was like, "Hey, I'm having fun again." So I don't see any reason why Aiello had to disappear, and it was just Bruce Willis that went to Rome, and not Aiello was already there because it was part of a ruse, but it didn't have to be. Should have just been Aiello and Bruce Willis together throughout the entire movie, all the way to the end. I didn't really think it needed to have that moment where you think he might be betraying him, but not really, because it's all part of a setup, so they can act like he's dead, and I really don't think that was necessary. So that's a problem with the screenplay, which is either Stephen D. D'Souza or Daniel Waters. I don't know who was responsible for that, but it should have just been a strict up sort of buddy flick with Aiello and Bruce Willis throughout the entire movie. Another problem I really have with this movie is the villains. The Mayflowers are not the type of villains that I love to hate. They're the type of villains I just fucking hate. Okay, I just want them to die and get blown up on screen the moment they show up on it. And Richard E. Grant, his performance as Darwin Mayflower is so hammy, so chock full of ham, he could slice himself up into little pieces and sell his ass over the deli counter. It's that hammy. And Sandra Bernhard is equally hammy and equally bad, and I can be honest, she's not the greatest looking woman in the world, but no offense. She's a great comedian though, but I just don't think she was given that much to do here except just be a bitch. That's it. Just be an unlikable bitch who I just want to get, when she's like, "Bunny, Baba," I just want to fucking get a cannonball to the face. Anyway, the only time any of the scenes of the Mayflowers that the only time I could tolerate any of those sequences was when Bruce Willis or Aiello was there. Same thing with the candy. I don't give a shit about Kaplan and the candy bar gang. Andrew Bryniarski as Butterfingers, a big oaf of a guy who gets his jacket caught in a fucking porta potty, and he's so dumb he moves along with his jacket still in the porta potty and knocks it over. The whole scene where he's asking for a steak sandwich. Is like, this is Paris. Oh, to be loved and in Paris. It's like, we're in Italy. This doesn't matter. It's like, this is a stupid oaf. Stupid oaf. I didn't find it funny. Almond Joy is just discount Whoopi Goldberg, who has a blow dart that paralyzes you. And she has that kind of funny line, but it's like, "I'm just glad don't have to be called by my or former names, which were based on STDs. You know how uncomfortable it is to be called chlamydia for over a year? Like, ha ha ha, chlamydia, ha ha ha." And Kit Kat, David Caruso is just copying people. I don't understand it. I don't find it funny. I just find it weird. At the moment where he's dressed in drag, trying to copy Andie McDowell in a red dress and a black wig and makeup and stuff, with heels, and walked around, I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then you have this guy, Don Harvey as Snickers, who's a jerk. He always plays a jerk in every movie, and I don't really care about Snickers. And he gets his head blown up. Great, because that was kind of cool. Frank Stallone has a role as Caesar Mario, one of the Mario brothers. Yeah, because there's that joke, oh, what's a Nintendo? I've never played Nintendo. And then even at the end of the movie, instead of some romantic line of dialogue, Bruce is telling Andie McDowell, he's like, "Would you play Nintendo? Would you like to play Nintendo with me?" Yeah, so there's some kind of fun moments like that, because he was in jail for so long, he doesn't even know what a Nintendo is. And then you have Doug Martin and Steve Martin as Ig and Ook, who are just these big tall guys who don't say a word and are just there for comedic relief, which really there isn't much. I guess there was somebody named Peppermint Patty, which I don't remember her at all, played by Emily Eby. So yeah, that's pretty much the cast. So, anyway, like I said earlier, it's based on a song, but there were some other kind of, moments where they were trying to, in a way, it's kind of a reference to those, like the gadgets and stuff are a reference to that movie, Our Man Flint, which is in 1966, and In Like Flint in 1967, which are like these sort of pseudo James Bond movies, but also comedies, and they had these really sort of weird gadgets that were kind of, to be honest, there's a specific name for it, clock punk technology. The plot of the film combines a lot of conspiracy theories, secret society plots, historic mysteries, as well as outlandish clock punk technology. Like the gun bomb, the bomb gun, and then also it has a lot of cartoon style slapstick, including sound effects, which is supposed to enhance the movie's signature surreal humor. But for me, the cartoon stuff is the parts of the humor of the film that don't work at all for me. The scene at the end where Hudson's fighting James Coburn and he's going, whoa, 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 and I'm like, is this necessary? I really don't think the cartoon aspect of the film was necessary at all. I thought it was funny and fun. It was fun enough as it was, and funny enough, with just fun lines of dialogue and some fun scenes and fun action when it was there. It didn't really need cartoon sequences in an R-rated movie. It just felt out of place to me. Anyway, so the film's plot basically centers around Eddie Hawkins, Hudson Hawk, played by Bruce Willis, and Hudson Hawk is a nickname for the bracing winds off the Hudson River. He's a master burglar and safecracker, and he's attempting to celebrate his first day of parole from prison with a cappuccino. And because that's the whole in-joke, it's repeated throughout the whole film, like Hudson Hawk just wants his cappuccino, which I thought was kind of funny. It was kind of different. So before he can get it, though, he's blackmailed by various entities, including his own parole officer, a minor mafia family headed by the Mario brothers, which is another Nintendo joke, and the CIA into doing several dangerous art heists with the singing partner in crime, Tommy Five-Tone Messina, played by Danny Aiello. There was a fun scene in the bar where Hudson Hawk is making fun of Mario, the Mario brothers, and he's like, if the Mario brothers were in New Jersey's third largest crime family, I'd say kiss my ass. But considering your status, I would say slurp my butt. Slurp my butt. That was actually in one of the, that was a line of dialogue that was in a book I have called the Dumbest Movie Quotes. That was in there. Slurp my butt. I mean, guys, yeah, slurp my butt, really. It is one of those. That is a pretty, but it was funny because it's absurd. There's a lot of that type of absurd one-liners, and some of it works. The movie actually opens up though with a narration, and it's like a sort of it talks about Leonardo da Vinci and a sort of humorous slant, and about how he invented this machine that could turn lead into gold, this alchemy machine. So that kind of deal. Oh, excuse me. Sorry for that again. And I'm just trying to see if there's any other fun lines that are... So yeah, anyway. So yeah, it starts out with this prequel sort of stuff with Leonardo da Vinci, who was played by, I don't know if they even... Well, of course, it doesn't have it on IMDb, but I can find it on... well, it's not on Wikipedia, but I can find it on IMDb who plays Leonardo da Vinci. Stefano Molinari plays Leonardo da Vinci. And he just speaks Italian, pretty much. There's no subtitles. It's kind of pretty much more of a sort of a jokey sort of vibe in the beginning. It even starts out kind of like it's a storybook, and the narrator is William Conrad. So it's pretty much, it's really, it's definitely not meant to be taken seriously. And that's not a problem with the film. I don't have a problem with that. So anyway, what happens is the holders of the puppet strings that are puppeteering this whole, deal with the art heist and all this stuff turn out to be a psychotic American corporation, the Mayflower Industries, who are run by husband and wife Darwin, who's played by Richard E. Grant, and Minerva Mayflower is played by Sandra Bernhard, and their blade-slinging butler Alfred, played by Donald Burton. I liked Alfred. I actually could deal with Alfred. I actually thought Donald Burton did a real good job, and I wish Alfred was just the bad guy. I wish he was the main villain. The company, headquartered in the Espiazione Universale Roma, seeks to take over the world by reconstructing La Macchina dell'Oro, a machine purportedly invented by Leonardo Da Vinci that converts lead into gold. A special assembly of crystals is needed for the machine to function, and they are hidden in a variety of Leonardo's artworks. So it's kind of like the plot of The Dark Crystal. So they need to find some crystals in order to make some machine work. I'm just saying. So they need a variety of Leonardo's artworks. You have the maquette of the Sforza, the Da Vinci Codex, scale model of Da Vinci's helicopter design, and you have Sister Anna Baragli, played by Andie McDowell. She is an operative for a secret Vatican counter-espionage agency, which is arranged with the CIA to assist in the Roman portion of Hawk's mission, though apparently intending all along to foil the robbery at St. Peter's Basilica. Throughout the adventure, Hudson is foiled and attempts to drink his cappuccino. After blowing up an auctioneer to cover up the theft of the Sforza, which was actually a pretty good effect. This guy, and sold, boom, hits the gavel, and then he just blows up. You see his arm flying towards the screen. The Mario brothers take Hawk away in an ambulance. Hawk sticks syringes into Anthony Mario's face and falls out of the ambulance gurney, and the Marios try to run him down with the ambulance as his gurney speeds along the highway. The brothers are killed when their driver, startled by the ray of syringes in Anthony's face, crashes the ambulance. That's one of my favorite scenes in the film. I really do enjoy the ambulance sequence. It's so over the top. It's so much fun to watch, especially the whole way Hudson's trapped. Then he just grabs this thing of syringes that's right next to him and slams them in this guy's face, and then he gets kicked out. And then instead of like beating the crap out of him, Frank Stallone just like, get the fuck out of my ambulance. Get out of my ambulance. And kicks Hudson on the gurney out of the ambulance. He's holding on by the sheet or whatever, and then she loses the sheet, and then he's rolling around on the gurney while there's cars whizzing by on this bridge. And I have fun with lines of dialogue like this. It's like, how am I driving? How am I driving? 100, I'm gonna fucking die! I don't know if we're gonna fucking die. And then the whole scene where he goes up and you have it's the toll booth, and they have the barriers in the way, and he's like, exact change. He pulls exact change out of his pocket and throws it, and into the change thing just in time for the barrier to lift up, and it's like, yeah, woohoo! And then Mario Brothers explode, and there's no continues. So I enjoy that scene. I have fun with that sequence. And that's one of the brief action scenes in the film. And then after that, Hudson meets up with... immediately afterwards, Hawk meets CIA head George Kaplan, played by James Coburn, and the CIA agent Snickers, Don Harvey, Kit Kat, David Caruso, Almond Joy, Lorraine Toussaint, and Butterfinger, played by Andrew Bryniarski, who take him to Darwin and Minerva Mayflower. Hawk successfully steals the Da Vinci Codex from another museum, but later refuses to steal the helicopter design. I like the sequence when he goes into the Vatican, and you have just some bits of random humor, like this American girl who's just sticking her tongue out and taking this stuffed animal and just bashing it against the staircase and just making all kinds of noise. It's like, ah! And I love how Caruso is looking at his face like, it's just like you and the audience. Like, what is wrong with this little girl? And then her mother comes in and is like, stop it! You're making our country look bad. I like that. Stop it! You're making our country look bad. So anyway, you're setting a bad example for our country. So he ends up stealing the codex pretty much he ends up stealing it with a fishing hook, a fishing rod. I thought he just steals it with a fishing rod, and locks the fat security guard in the security defense, which is like this, kind of like a metal cage, and so I can have some fun with the scenes in there, with Hudson trying to figure that out. And I also had really a lot of fun with the first heist scene where they're singing "Swinging on a Star." And I like the sort of aspect that Hudson has a kind of quirky sort of thing where he remembers every how long every song is. And there's one fun scene where Tommy's telling him, like, Whitney Houston Super Bowl Whitney Houston uh, national anthem Super Bowl. It was like Super Bowl like 20 something or whatever, and it's like 7 minutes. It's 22 seconds. It's like, get the fuck out of here. How the fuck do you know that? Anyway, so yeah, they have a lot. I have a blast when Hudson and Tommy Five Tone are on the screen. It's when they're not on the screen that I kind of don't really have nearly as much fun. But anyway, there's also some fun scenes. I have some fun scenes at the candy bars, but only when Hudson Hawk is there. Like the whole thing where Kit Kat is copying Bruce Willis, and he's doing all the different movements that he's doing when he's mad. He's getting mad at him, He's yelling at. I don't even know if they have the scene, which would be too bad because it is a fun sequence, and I'm just trying to see if they have it. The quote here. Nope. It's too bad. But anyway, I like the scene though where he's, the candy bars are giving him crap. Kaplan, he's mad. He doesn't want to do the job for him, and Cat's copying his movements. And he's like, "I'm gonna kick your ass," and then he just elbows Kit Kat in the face. I like that scene. Anyway, so there's some fun to be had with this movie, definitely. But anyway, Hudson refuses to steal the helicopter design, and this is where Tommy Five Tone shows up, and he fakes his death so they can escape. They are discovered and attacked by CIA agents, and Kaplan reveals that he and his agents stole the piece. Unlike Tommy and Hudson, and had no problem killing the guards. Hawk and Tommy cause Snickers and Almond Joy to be killed by their own explosive device, which is a fun sequence where Almond Joy, shoot him with darts. She shoots Hudson and Tommy with darts, and it paralyzes them. And then it makes them cross their legs, and they have their hands are all limp-wristed and stuff like that. And so it's kind of like it's kind of like they're forced to be gay. It's really, really that type of humor. But I can't help but kind of laugh at that image of, Tommy Five Tone like, I'm gonna kick your ass. And I like the whole idea of the bomb guns. I think that's really original and inventive. And I like how, they get away. He's like, can you move? Yeah, I can move still. He grabs the gun and shoots it right at Snickers. Got the gun's right at his fucking head. He's like, get this fucking thing off of me! Ah! And then his head, boom! His head explodes. When his head explodes, Tommy Five Tone and Hudson jump out of the building before they get blown up, which is a decent, short little action sequence. And then some good stunt work. So anyway, they escape, and then they end up, Kit Kat and Butterfinger took Anna, though, to the castle where the Machina d'Oro is being reconstructed, and then the film's a showdown, and the final showdown. Then you have a showdown that takes place at the castle between the remaining ECI agents, the Mayflowers, and the team of Hudson, Five Tone, and Baragli. Kit Kat and Butterfinger are betrayed and killed by Minerva, so that was kind of lame. I mean, I would have rather had Hudson Hawk kick Butterfinger's ass, rather than him just get shot with a bunch of arrows by Minerva. That's just me. Tommy fights Darwin and Alfred inside Darwin's speeding limo. That's where he ends up punching Darwin 5 times in the face. 1, boom, 2, boom, 3, boom, 4, boom, 5. And then while this is happening, Hudson is fighting George Kaplan, James Coburn on the roof of the castle. Because Kaplan is using his karate and shit. And Kaplan ends up toppling from the castle and lands on the roof of the limo. Alfred plants a bomb in the limo and escapes to Darwin. Tommy is trapped inside, and Kaplan is hanging onto the hood as the bomb detonates as the limo speeds over a cliff. And his last words, Kaplan's last words are, "My pigeon!" Boom. Anyway, then it's pretty much the climax of the film. Darwin and Minerva end up forcing Hawk to put together the crystal powering the machine, but Hawk intentionally leaves out one small piece of it. When the Mayflowers activate the machine, it malfunctions and explodes, killing Minerva and Darwin, basically covering them in gold. And like the fatal Midas touch. And this is the kind of stuff where you have really over-the-top acting by Darwin here. He's like, "Listen, Hawk, might be hard to believe, but I'm just a regular Joe. I just want to be happy, and happiness comes from the achievement of goals. It's just that you've made when you first made your 8 billion by the age of 19, it's hard to keep coming with new ones. Finally, I've got myself a new goal, world domination." So there's that one, and that's actually not the one I'm trying to find here. It's this one where this is his last, basically his last words before he dies. Trying to find it. Here it is. "History, tradition, culture are not concepts. These are trophies I keep in my den as paperweights. The chaos we will cause with this machine will be our final masterpiece." You're just like, dude, the fuck? I understand that's the point. It's supposed to be over the top, but at the same time, it's like, you have to be that over the top? It's like the point was just kind of a joke. But I guess that's the point. It's supposed to be a joke, but he's just, I don't give a shit about the character. I don't care. And they've never really proven that they were that ruthless. They're just rich fucks who want to build a gold machine. Anyway, but then after they die, though, I like this fun sequence where Hudson fights with Alfred, and he's got war paint on for some reason, and because he shows up and he's like, "How?" Like a really absurd humor. And then he shows up and is going after Hudson, and Hudson's like, "Hey, I saved you. I already saved you. Anna, it's your turn. It's your turn." "No, it's your turn, Hudson." But I just saved you. I stopped the Mayflower." So he goes and he ends up fighting the Alfred, and he ends up getting him. He ends up decapitating pretty much with his own blades, and he's like, "Hey, Alfred, I guess you won't be attending that hat convention in July." What the fuck, hat convention? And then he ends up killing Alfred with his own blades, decapitates him, and Hawk and Baragli escape the castle with the flying machine that Leonardo Da Vinci invented, and they fly away as the castle explodes. And then they end up discovering Tommy waiting for them at a cafe, having miraculously escaped death. And Hawk finally gets to enjoy his cappuccino. And then the narrator closes the story, and then, closes the book on Hudson Hawk, I guess, because it's a fairy tale, and that's it. That's Hudson Hawk. Yeah, it's not a movie for everybody. I can see why people didn't like this. I can see why people are disappointed. I mean, a follow-up to Die Hard 2 is more of a comedy and less of an action movie. Although some DVD covers overseas would like to believe otherwise, because I've seen a DVD cover overseas of Hudson Hawk, which has a poorly photoshopped gun placed in his hand. He doesn't even use a gun in this movie. But either way, though, I have fun with Hudson Hawk. It's an enjoyable enough flick. Mainly it's because I have fun with Bruce Willis and Aiello. And I find them to be a really entertaining bunch of guys to watch on screen. And some fun, unique action sequences, and some, really kind of cool ideas. The singing while they're robbing things or blowing stuff up, I thought was fun. The bomb guns I thought were really cool. And the whole idea of the alchemy machine and stuff, that was kind of that was different as well. But I guess it's just, those are the only reasons why I really like the movie. Like I would say I like the movie. I wouldn't say I really, really, really like it. I would say I like it. I like it mainly because of Bruce Willis and Danny Aiello. I don't really care for anybody else in the movie, to be honest. So, but that's kind of the reason why I don't love the movie, is because I don't like the supporting cast that much. I don't like the villains. I know there's a point, but they're not villains I love to hate. I just fucking hate them. And Andie McDowell, I can't stand half the time. And James Coburn and the Candy Bar, or whatever, fuckheads, I don't give a shit about. So, mainly it's just for Hudson Hawk and his friend Tommy. And some of the, kind of fun, unique action scenes. And the soundtrack. But other than that, I really don't know what else to say about Hudson Hawk, except, yeah, it was a pretty big flop, $65 million budget, only made $17 million. And it was actually pretty infamous for it's one of the films that it got the dubious distinction of being the final film produced by TriStar Pictures prior to being bought out and merged with Columbia Pictures. Because Hawk had been bought out. Because Hawk had lost so much money, the Sony Corporation had to salvage TriStar by purchasing its remaining stock and by reorganizing the company as part of the recently formed Sony Pictures Entertainment. As with United Artists when they were bought out by MGM, Columbia and TriStar were allowed to keep their own logos and to continue making movies under their own names. TriStar was first formed under similar circumstances, with stock purchased from Lord Grade's now defunct ITC, following the costly failure of our four ambitiously expensive movies: Can't Stop the Music, The Legend of Lone Ranger, Race of the Titanic, and Saturn III. Yeah, all of those movies sucked. That's a really, really bad. That's like one of the worst companies ever. You didn't even get one movie that was good. You had 4 chances to do it, and you fucked up 4 times. Hudson Hawk is better than all 4 of those films, and the movie is most definitely better than the shitty video games. But anyway, I really don't know what to say about Hudson Hawk, except I can have fun with the movie, mainly for Bruce Willis and Danny Aiello. And I really don't know what to say because I'm rated out of 5 stars. I'll give it 3.5. I think it's above average flick. I get enough entertainment with Bruce Willis and Danny Aiello, and you have some fun action scenes and some fun ideas and a good soundtrack, and there's a lot of fun to be had in this film. But it's not a movie I watch over and over again. And if I was going to watch another meta sort of comedy action movie, I'll just watch Fort Fairlane. Or watch Last Action Hero. But Hudson Hawk's alright for what it is. It's an above average flick. So, anyway, I really don't know what to say about Hudson Hawk, except thanks for watching my review. And I will see you guys later. See ya.